This video contains spoilers for Season 1, Episode 1 and Season 2, Episodes 14 and 15 of Criminal Minds. We are putting a major trigger warning on this video. If you have religious trauma, particularly surrounding Bible-based ritual abuse, sacrifice and archangels, please take care of yourself. This video may not be good for you because the episodes we are talking about includes this area of detail. Our video will not be about this aspect, but it will come up with an explanation of the plot. Hello and welcome to the Rose System. My name is Sarah and today we are looking at Criminal Minds. We have an extended list of trigger warnings in the description below. The first episode we are looking at, we are only discussing one scene where DID is mentioned explicitly. The other two episodes are back to back and cover the storyline of a serial killer who targets people he believes to be sinners. Let's get into it. The scene in Season 1, Episode 1 starts with Gideon finding a book he's written on the shelf belonging to the suspect. He brings this book in and asks what the suspect has learned. The response is, Hiram said a man living inside his head was the one who committed the murders. You said that he was lying, that there'd never been an actual case of multiple personalities. To which Gideon responds, you have an academic interest in dissociative identity disorder, or you just planning your defense? This is the extent of the ID in this episode. Like many episodes, it is mentioned in passing, but we are looking at the scene because DID is explicitly stated. My issue with this scene is that it is ambiguous as to what Gideon actually said in his book. The way it's worded, I initially interpreted as though Gideon does not believe DID exists. However, this could just be bad wording on the show's behalf. The case referenced is that of William Hirons, a serial killer who claimed his alter ego George did the killing. It is unclear as to whether Hirons had DID or not. The show makes it clear that Gideon doesn't believe that Hirons have DID. This first episode is a rocky start for DID representation, and it only gets worse. There are a couple of offhand remarks about multiple personalities and split personalities in a couple of episodes before DID is picked up again. This time, in Season 2, Episodes 14 and 15, the suspect is the one with DID. I want to make something clear. DID, dissociative identity disorder, and MPD, multiple personality disorder, are not explicitly stated in these episodes. When discussed, it talks about the killer having multiple personalities, but when Googling dissociative identity disorder Criminal Minds, these episodes are the ones that come up. Episode 14 starts with the suspect stalking a house of his soon-to-be victims. One suspect is shown, but two different and distinct voices are heard. One is labelled Tobias in the subtitles, and the other is titled Raphael. Tobias is depicted as flighty, emotional, and terrified, whilst Raphael is in control and ruthless. Due to Tobias calling 911, the BAU believes that they are dealing with two suspects, one being a dominant personality and the other a submissive personality. At the crime scene, there is an open Bible turned to a highlighted passage in Revelations. This is the beginning of the ritualistic killings and very warped end times biblical beliefs. There is a brilliant line by Gideon in this episode stating, I am tired of people using religion to justify the terrible things they do. I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. As more people are killed and more evidence comes through, the BAU determines that Tobias has a delusion that he is possessed by the Archangel Raphael. Episode 14 ends with Spencer Reid being kidnapped by Tobias and a series of rapid switches acted out on camera. Once again, please see the list of trigger warnings in the description. Episode 15 is about the BAU trying to find where Tobias took Spencer. In Spencer's timeline, he is tortured by an altar based upon Tobias's father. He is determined to get a confession of some kind out of Spencer to justify killing him. Spencer is forced to choose between which of the watch victims is next to die. Spencer has a range of interactions with Tobias, Tobias's father, and Raphael. There are a couple of scenes with further dialogue between the alters shown. More bad stuff that I won't go into detail on happens before Spencer gives his confession and is made to dig his own grave. The BAU find them in time before Spencer shoots Tobias, killing him and freeing him from his father's control. To say that these episodes are bad is an understatement. We haven't even begun to look at the scientific errors and misrepresentation in these 2 episodes. We will start with the minor ones and then move to the worst ones. The first thing that is shown is the distinct voices going back and forth with the conversation. In our experience, these conversations happen partially mentally, where, as an example, Miss talks to me on the inside and I will respond verbally. This can be helpful as sometimes having so many people talking internally can cause confusion. The quick switches required for the conversation shown on the show is not impossible, but it is uncommon. Most of the time there are quick switches, it is because the system is distressed and no one alter can hold down the front. I will give this a pass though. It is a creative license to show the conversations that the alters are having. The next area of concern comes in Tobias's trauma history. The show has flashbacks to Tobias's childhood where some of the things his father did is shown. Tobias has the extensive trauma history that on paper looks like it's enough to form DID. However, the show takes a slightly more problematic route. It is unclear as to whether Tobias's trauma started before the age of 7 and the religious trauma happened from the age of 7, or if there was no trauma from before the age of 7. At the moment, it is believed that DID cannot form after the age of 7 through 9, and severe repeated trauma needs to occur before this time. If Tobias did not have extensive trauma before the age of 7, it is unlikely that he would have DID. The religious trauma started at the age of 7. The next area of concern has to do with who Tobias's alters are. Tobias's 2 alters are his abusive father and the Archangel Raphael. Both of these alters would be classified as persecutors, or alters who harm the body and the system. The misrepresentation comes in the fact that these alters revel in harming others. Whilst there is the rare exception from time to time, most persecutors only harm the body and the system. Whilst people with DID are not excluded from violent crime, these statistics are much lower than the general population. But the vast majority of media paints us as killers. So my issue with the inclusion of these alters is the fact that they actively seek to harm other people. The major issue is when the system is believed to have formed, or more specifically, when the alters have formed. DID can only form in early childhood. If you do not have DID before the ages of 7 through 9, then you will never have DID. At this point in time, we are left to assume that Tobias's father and Raphael are the only 2 alters apart from Tobias. The BAU indicates that these alters formed about 6 months before the BAU are called in due to the catalyst of Tobias's father's death and drug use. The show seems to indicate that this was the first split. If Tobias's father and Raphael are the first alters, then he is way too far past the creation point for DID. For Tobias to have DID, I would have to assume that he has other alters that we do not meet in the show. I really dislike this representation of DID. The attempt to give Tobias the background he needs to form DID is sloppy. The show makes it out to be that, apart from the original or the host, every alter is either abusive or a murderer. This is far from the truth. We are working on making a video about actual crime statistics when it comes to DID. But once again, for the sake of drama, a TV show has misrepresented a vulnerable community and made us out to be dangerous. Thus ends my rant about these episodes. Once again, you can find a list of trigger warnings in the description below. If you do decide to watch them, please proceed with caution. When we first watched them, Mist got triggered out because of the distress they caused. Mist only comes out in extreme situations. As a matter of fact, it was just after we watched these episodes that Mist filmed their introduction video. We had a very angry gatekeeper fronting for a good few hours after we watched these episodes. We started watching Criminal Minds again recently, but this time we have foreknowledge before going in. Even then, some memories were redacted and we had forgotten how horrible these episodes were. So please proceed with caution. We hope that you enjoyed this video. We are hoping to make more about Criminal Minds as we watch through and see the other episodes that deal with DID. We hope they aren't as bad as these ones are, but we are not positive they will be any better. Criminal Minds has failed at good DID representation. Thank you for watching, and if our videos interest you, please subscribe. Please know you are loved by the incredible God of the universe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!